Hey everyone, this is Charles Mitri from loungeboudoir.com, and in this video we're going to tackle the topic of natural light versus flash for boudoir photography. Which is better? Is one better than the other? Most boudoir is shot using natural light. However, there are some boudoir photographers out there, myself included, who primarily use flash. Maybe you shoot both. However, whichever camp you fall into, there are pros and cons to both that you should be aware of. Be sure to stick around for the pros of shooting with flash, because I'm going to mention a couple of things that I'm pretty confident you've never heard before, because I've never heard anyone talk about these things within the boudoir genre. So you're going to want to stick around for that. Please hit that like and subscribe button if you like these videos. I certainly appreciate it. And if you'd like to be notified when I debut a new video on YouTube, just click that bell icon and you'll be notified. All right, let's get into it. Pros of shooting with natural light. First and foremost, it's free. You don't have to pay for it. That's a great advantage. No one is going to send you a bill to use light from the sun, at least not yet. It's readily available during the day, and it does a good job coming through your window and lighting your subject. The only thing you may need is a sheer white curtain to diffuse or soften the light. Another positive of using natural light is something called WYSIWYG. WYSIWYG stands for what you see is what you get. In other words, light coming in through a window, I keep looking over here at my window because I've got a window right here, is constant light. So you can see the effect it has on your subject in real time. And if you use a mirrorless camera, you can simply adjust normally your shutter speed to get the proper exposure of that light affecting your subject. Now, if you have an old-fashioned DSLR, you can do the same thing. Just hit live view on your camera and then adjust usually the shutter speed, like I said, and then switch back to normal mode to take your picture. That's a great way to see the exposure in real time with both types of cameras. Another advantage to shooting with natural light is that there's no setup. The only setup you may do would be to, like I said, put up a sheer white curtain. But other than that, you're saving time and energy with no setup. Shooting with natural light, the cons or the negatives. One negative is that it can be inconsistent. Now, there may be days where it's very cloudy and you have clouds constantly moving in front of the sun, causing your light level to drop dramatically and then to rise dramatically again during certain points of your session. You may have to adjust your settings to accommodate for that. I haven't really experienced that too much, although I do know there are parts of the world where people live where it is very cloudy and very sunny a lot of the times. So that might be an issue. It's never really been an issue with me though. Another drawback to using natural light is that there may be certain times of the year, seasons, where it's very overcast most of the time. I'm thinking like Seattle, Portland in the wintertime, parts of Alaska if you live in Alaska, other parts of the world, of course. Although there probably will be enough light most of the time under those conditions where you can shoot. Now, you may want to eliminate the sheer white curtain because the cloud cover will act as a modifier in a sense. So you may already be getting that soft light coming through your window without having any type of curtain to filter it through. Another negative to shooting with natural light is if you live in an area that practices daylight savings, where you lose that hour and then you gain that hour, your workday will be shortened. You won't have as long a time during the day to schedule a shoot. Instead of the sun setting normally around 7, 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, during daylight savings, it'll set around 4:30, 5 o'clock. So you won't be able to schedule any sort of late afternoon sessions. Your light's going to be dropping pretty fast. It's not going to be ideal conditions. So you'll want to schedule those shoots during that time, morning, midday, early afternoon. Okay, now the positives, the pros of shooting with flash. Because of the nature of the xenon tube in speedlights and strobes, when you shoot with flash, you're going to have more detail, your images are going to look sharper, and your colors are going to be more true, and I'll get into that in a second. So sharper images, crisper images shooting with flash. If you have fine detail such as lace, mesh, hair, eyes, any kind of intricate pattern, that's really going to be emphasized with flash. It's going to provide more texture to your images. Any type of furniture covered in velvet or any type of wood detailing, anything like that is going to just be amplified more with flash. You're going to see it better, it's going to be crisper, and have more detail. Now, your skin is also going to have more detail in it as well, which you may not want, but you can remedy that with certain skin softening software in post. Like I mentioned earlier, you will have truer colors if you use flash. When you shoot with natural light, and that light is coming through the window, it's bouncing all over, off of everything. It's bouncing off the furniture, maybe a dark hardwood floor. If you have painted walls that are an odd color, such as blue or green or pink, that's going to create what's called color cast. If you have your subject leaning against the wall, maybe laying on a dark brown hardwood floor, the ambient light is going to bounce off of those surfaces and reflect off of your subject's skin. Now, it took me a while to sort of see that. It's called color cast too. I don't know if I mentioned that, but color cast. And you have to kind of train your eye to see it, but once you do, you won't be able to unsee it. And shooting with natural light, you're not going to get accurate colors. You're going to have all this mix of ambient light bouncing off all these surfaces mixed in like this big potpourri of color. When you shoot with flash, because of the nature of the Xenon 2, like I mentioned, you're shooting with a consistent color temperature, and it's powerful enough that it overpowers all the ambient color casts and light that exists. And the beauty of shooting with flash is you can still diffuse it through modifiers or even a sheer curtain, and it will still have the same effect. You'll get one color temperature, and it will dominate over the ambient, any ambient light that exists in your space. Another advantage of shooting with flash, of course, is that you're in control. You control the intensity, the color temperature, the direction, and the placement of the light. When you're shooting with natural light, you're constrained to where that source is coming from, primarily a window, or in some cases, maybe an open door. When you shoot with flash, you're not constrained to any one area of your space. You can set up anywhere. You can also obviously shoot any time of day, any time of night. Another advantage of shooting with flash is you can create a fake window that looks like natural light. I do this. I've been doing this recently, and I really love the effect that I get. I set up a fake window with a sheer white curtain, strobe with a modifier on one side, shooting through. It's a bit of a setup, but it looks, I love it. It looks just like natural window light. And I get the advantage of finer detail and a consistent color, truer colors. So I'm a little more biased to flash, although I still like natural light. I don't want you to think that I dislike one or the other. The negatives of shooting with flash. First of all, it's going to cost money. Whether you shoot with a speed light or strobe or some kind of hybrid light that Godox and or Flashpoint make. It's the same company, they just brand differently for different companies. That's going to cost you money. Light stands, modifiers. You can spend, you don't have to spend a ton of money. You can spend a moderate amount of money and have a nice setup. I don't have a very elaborate setup. I use primarily one flash, one modifier, one stand when I shoot. Now, if I'm creating a fake window, obviously I have more apparatus to create that with, but that's sort of another disadvantage of using flash is you have to set all this up. And if you're shooting in a space that you can't keep it set up, you have to tear it all down. That's going to be more time consuming, and it's going to cost you more energy during the session itself. And even if you do have a space where you can keep it set up, you may want to change your lighting setup. You may, instead of having cross light, you may want to have top light. So you'll have to change it anyway. So that is a disadvantage too. Plus you have to bring all this gear with you if the studio doesn't have it. I've been doing this for a number of years, and it can be exhausting, but I just like the effect that I get from that look. So it's worth it to me. Another disadvantage or negative to flash is that it can be intimidating learning artificial light, how to light something with flash strobe. When I first got started in photography, I kind of learned flash at the beginning because I was shooting headshots in Los Angeles and I was into this cinematic look and I really liked that. So I was shooting with 2 flashes and something called high-speed sync, and I actually learned that first, and I had to come back and learn how to shoot with natural light, which I know isn't the normal path people take in photography, but that's just what I was into at the time. But it's like anything. The first time you tried to use a computer, it was probably overwhelming, or driving a car, or anything that you don't know. But the more you do it, I mean, looking back, what I considered to be challenging and hard at the beginning now is pretty elementary to me, and it will be for you too if you have the desire to learn. So wrapping this all up, which is better, flash or natural light? Well, that depends on the kind of look that you want. For me, I prefer the look that flash provides. I still shoot in natural light though, in certain circumstances, not as much. I think it's really good just to have a broad vocabulary with photography because that gives you more options. Maybe you'll have a client that wants one over the other, and if you want to profit from that client, then... So I certainly appreciate your time. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you like these videos, and I will catch you at a future point in the YouTube universe.